Today's episode is brought to you by Kid Veen. Everyone has a sinister side. Discover your inner demon and satisfy your dark fantasies by joining the fast-growing gang of misfits currently wearing Kid Veen. Go to www.kidveen.com and use the code CREATIVE at checkout to receive 10% off your order. Every time one of you guys uses this code, I actually get a kickback. Affiliate links and sponsorship programs are one of the few ways to actually get a little bit of money back for content on this platform. So if you like the podcast and want to show some support, this is one of the best ways you can do it. Hello and welcome to another episode of Creative Appetite. Today I'm joined by my good friend Beny. He is a freelance photographer specializing in, but not limited to, content photography, fitness photography, and fashion photography.
There you go. You nailed it.
Yes, I nailed it. That's so good. I think this is the first one I've nailed today.
It's good.
So
it's good. Must be the coffee, my man.
It's the coffee. We're coming in hot.
Thank you so much for having me, Mo.
No, really my pleasure. It's been a long time coming. I feel like a lot of people that I get on, I'm like, yeah, I'll get you on, and then there's like 10 other people, and I'm like, oh shit, and now I gotta like remember. Like you forget because there's so many people.
That and I haven't been coming to OzTag at all, so I'm like,
I
don't even see you.
No.
I just like hurt my heel and like never playing again.
You're like, I'm not playing this silly game.
Team sports isn't for me.
That's a lot. Like to be honest, like with a lot of the people that I speak to about the podcast, they're like, oh, how do you just find these people? I'm like, honestly, there's a lot. Like I'm not having trouble really finding people at the moment because there's so many amazing creative people on the coast, and the more you dive into it, you're just like, holy crap, there's a lot.
Man, it's absolutely bonkers. I remember coming up here first time, I was like, oh, there's not many photographers up here. Oh man, I was so mistaken. Just because, like, not saying everybody's got a camera, but such and such is involved with whoever, and it's just like this continual chain. I'm like, far out. Like, oh, do you know like KT Tunbridge? And he's like, yeah, he's like a good friend of mine. I'm like, fuck, like, oh, okay, he's epic. Next thing, he's like showing up out in the surf. I'm like, oh, so everyone knows everybody, and it's just such a good networking crew up here, and that's what I fell in love about it up the coast. Like, no one's competitive, I guess, to a degree, but it's just everyone's such a fun vibe, and someone's always got something to bounce off another person. So
yeah, it's insane. Like even for me, when I first moved up here, you're like looking at these. Not to say Instagram is like the thing, but like you're looking at people with like massive followings, and you're like, and coming from like Sydney and places like that, people with like big followings, you don't see them because one, Sydney's ginormous, but you wouldn't really like interact with people like that, I guess.
Not at all. Like
in a weird way, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, down in Cronulla, it was always like, I felt like keeping up with the Joneses. Like if you had 10,000 followers, like you got a K next to your number up in your Instagram. It's like, you're a big deal. And I was like, for me, I was like, nah, like not that I know heaps of people like that, but if you're not a good person, I couldn't give a shit if you're Chris Hemsworth. It's just like, you know what, fuck off. Like,
yeah, it's the same. Yeah.
It's you need to be a genuine person. And for me, it's at the end of the day, it's a number. Like Kieran Tunbridge, he's got like 15k followings, and I was like that when I first came up. I was like, oh, like he's a great photographer. Look at his followings, and I was like, oh, like his photos are sick too. And then I started realizing that number doesn't mean shit. Like I've met some great photographers that have 250 followers on their page. I'm like, fuck, like why isn't this kid blown up yet? And
literally,
I mean, me, I've come from nothing, and everyone's like, you're an amazing photographer. Where have you been? I'm like, literally doing nothing. Like,
not a lot.
Definitely not a lot. Definitely not a lot.
And that's what I noticed. Like when I moved up here, I was like, man, I would never I wouldn't even think these people would even want to come on my podcast. And then I hit them up, and they're like, yeah, man, I'll come on. I was just like one person that hasn't come on yet that I asked, he has a massive, like he's really big in the community, big following, stuff like that. And I was so nervous to go ask them to come on. And I remember I went in there, I was like, hey, I run this podcast, blah, blah, blah. Would you like to come on? And before I could even say anything else, he's like, yeah, man. Like just straight up. I was just like, oh, like, do you need to know anything more? Like, I was so gobsmacked. I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then he's like, yeah, here's my number. He's just like his personal number. I was just like, what is going on? I was so... And then like every other interaction as well, like people are like, yeah, I'd love to come on and have a chat. I'm like,
I see.
And like, if you look at my Instagram, it's like 150 followers, which like, I don't care about the following. Like it's not that at all, but it's like the image that it perceives. Like if you have a big following, you're like, oh, they must be a big deal.
Must be
kind
good,
of thing.
yeah. I always take that in consideration in regards to, again, meeting somebody for the first time. It's a couple of people, friends of Shale's down in Sydney. Like, I didn't know who they were. Like, it's I don't know if we can name names on here, but it's like
just name drop if you want.
Yeah, Sarah's Day and Kurt Tilt's, like, amazing couple. Like, Sarah's got 1 million followers. She runs White Fox Boutique and things like that, and like, or she not runs, but she's part of it. Kurt's like an amazing videographer, like absolutely bonkers. Didn't know them, didn't know who they were. I knew his work. I was like, this is sick. This is a sick video. And then when Shay came into the scene of my life, it was, hey, I'm doing a shoot with Sarah's Day. And she was dropping the name like it was a big deal. And a couple of people like, oh my God, Sarah's Day. I'm like, fuck's is Sarah? Like, why is the last name Day? Like, this is weird. Met them, amazing people, amazing humans. And again, with that following, I was like, I don't care. Like,
it's literally, it's in your phone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
it's
just in your phone.
Turn your phone off.
It's like no one knows who you are. Like,
Seriously.
unless you're like Kim Kardashian or someone, you got paparazzi following around. It's like your Instagram following is pretty much meaningless to the everyday person if they don't use their phone.
That's it, man. And I think that's what my mentality of like not caring about that number. I still get shoots with Reebok. I still get shoots with CrossFit Games, and people are like, oh, how did you land that? I was like, I'm a genuine human being. Like, I told CrossFit Games, I've never shot a CrossFit Games event before. I've never been in front of all this audience and all these competitors. Like, I'll try my fucking best. Thank you for this opportunity. And like, shit, yeah, thanks for being real. Same with Reebok. Hey, Beny, we love your stuff. We reached out to them in COVID. Like, do you guys want any content? They looked up Shay and I. They're like, yeah, we love what you do. Here's a box of stuff. No brief. I went, shit. Like, okay, hey, guys, here's some drafts. Like, what do you guys think? Got an email back from the general manager. And he's like, where the fuck have you been? And I'm like, who's this Simon guy? So I called my contact. I'm like, who's Simon? He goes, he's our boss. I'm like, oh, fuck. Like, this
Fuck you, Simon. I mean, he's a great guy.
But it's just been a great family from then on out. Like, it was a, hey guys, like, this is what I've done, and I'm taking every bit of criticism on board. But people are like, oh, you shoot for Reebok, like, you must be amazing. I'm like, no, I'm fucking rubbish. Like,
I'm just winging it.
I had no idea about what the shit we were talking about off camera, like about camera stuff. I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't know the theory behind it. I know what works for me, and I know what makes it great for what I can create. And I'm like, that's my view on things. But if you say, oh, you should do it like this, 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 and this, I'm like, nah, I kind of get shitty about that. It's like, no, this isn't there's no right or wrong way to take a photo. It's like, if it looks good, it's great. That's how you become better. Like, you just stick in your lane.
Yeah, for sure. I remember.
There's me rambling some more.
Nah, it's mad. There was one time, this is my like fangirl moment, I guess you could say. So I'm a real big fan of Steen Jones. I don't know if you heard of him.
Yeah.
So anyway, I was at Splendor with a group of friends, and my mate knows him like real well, like they're good friends. And I remember I was just standing there, like at Splendor, standing next to my mate, and he was having a chat to this guy. And I was like, all right, just chatting away. And then somehow it come up, and I was like, he was like, oh yeah, it's my mate Steen. I was like Steen Jones. He's like, yeah, that's who I am. I was just like, oh my God. I was like, I did not even notice, hey, like didn't pick up on it whatsoever. And I was just like, what the fuck? I was like, oh my God, like full fangirled. And then my ex was like, she's like, Jesse, you just fangirled him. I was like, I did. I was like, but I didn't even know it was him. Like, he was literally just chatting to my mate, like just normal dude, like normal artist. And that's the best part, is like when you can have these experiences where you're like, the people that you look up to or like enjoy their content and stuff. And they're just genuine people as well. They're just like, oh yeah, thanks man. Like, that's sick.
That's it, man. A great example of that is, I think it was May 2020. I was surfing at Majimba by myself. Just, I don't know anybody up here at this stage. I was still in that stage of like, what the fuck do I do? Like, do I buy more camera gear? Do I, like, what am I going to do with my life up here? Like, I drove up from Sydney when COVID first hit, and I was like, okay, this is it. Like, now what? I got 4 days worth of clothes because I thought it was going to be like a flu and just blow over. Anyway, this guy with blonde, not blonde eyes, blue eyes.
You're blonde-eyed,
You're
baby.
blonde eyes. These blue eyes, like piercing blue eyes, long curly hair and a mustache. Pat was like, hey bro, how are you? And I was like, oh, everybody in the sunny coast has a mustache. I was like, this is cool. Didn't think anything of it. Like, called him onto a few waves, and we were just having an absolute ball, surfing like absolute peacocks, like just not doing very well. We just got to chatting. I said, what do you do? And it was the first time that I ever gone, I'm a photographer. And it felt so good to be like, shit, yeah, like, I'm a creator, I'm a photographer. This is where I need to be. And he's like, cool, like, I would really like to look you up, like, blah, 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 blah. Like, it would be cool to interact a bit more. and connect. And I was like, oh, what do you do? He's like, oh, I'm Paddy. Like, we're in a band. Like, me and my mate Zane. Like, we're not that big. Like, we're called the Dregs. I'm like, oh, here we go. Like, this guy's in like a garage band, and they do like punk rock out of his grandma's house.
Yeah.
Didn't think anything of it. Went like I surfed for like 4.5, 5 hours. Shay thought I was legitimately dead. I got home and I was like so waterlogged. Everything was like just
Fingers
wrinkled
all
up,
over
and I was like, oh, okay, I need some water. And she's like, what happened? Like, I was like, oh, I just met this cool dude out there, like out on the surf, piercing blue eyes. He's from some band called the Dregs. Like, I'll look him up later. Paddy actually found me, and I looked him up. And everybody on Sunshine Coast knows the Dregs. And I heard his voice. I was like, this is complete opposite to what I thought he was. He's got the most like angel voice. And then Zane's much the same. I was like, where did you guys fucking come from? And I think it was literally like a week later. They're like, oh, we're playing at Soul Bar. Like, do you want to come and shoot our gig? Have you shot gigs before? And first time in my life, like I kind of like lied on my resume. I was like, oh shit, yeah, I've done this heaps. I had no idea what I was doing. I dead set, had no idea. I was like, photographers wear all black. So I went out and bought like a fresh black tee. Shit, you know what? And I was like, oh, I need to blend in here. I was like, Benny, like look at myself in the mirror. He's like, you're 6'4", be invisible. You've got this right. It's just like,
Forget your flash.
yeah, no idea. Had no idea where this venue was. Walked in, had my camera gear. Like, oh, you're the photographer. I was like, yes, I am.
Yeah.
I was like, done this heaps before. I shot a couple of scenes and everything. They absolutely loved my photos, but because it was COVID, they had to split the gig into 2 gigs. The first gig, I was listening to them live for the first time. I took 4 photos. I shit you not. They're like, oh, did you get any? I was like, yeah. Actually, no, I didn't. I'm not gonna lie here. I took 4 fucking photos because you guys are incredible. Like, I didn't know how much of a big deal they were, because at the end of the first one, they came down off stage and like saw the crowd. Girls were like ripping at Paddy and Zane. I was like, you guys are kind of huge. Like, you're not just some random dude with mustaches on Spotify. Like, you're pretty big, and you guys are amazing. Like, you guys are going places. The next gig, I was like taking my photos and stuff. They came out amazing. Like, I'm not gonna like blow hot air out my ass, but
no, you should. Yeah, definitely. You should feel confident within your product. I reckon. Well, it's good.
Hey man, yeah, thank you, brother. But it was like I hope you like these, and I shot them over to them. And they're like, Benny, these are the most creative photos we've ever seen. Like, the angles that you get are just something else. And Zane's not one to smile, but like I got one of Zane smiling, and I got one of Paddy, and he's like beautiful locks and his blonde eyes, his blue eyes, like just flowing in, like just capturing emotion. And I set myself a goal. I was like, if I shoot for these guys again, I need to get Paddy with his hair, and I need to get Zane smiling. And I did that for like the next, I think I've shot like 10 or 11 gigs of theirs, and like we just grew into like a great mates. And that sort of point, going back to that point of, they were just genuine people. I was just surfing with this guy, and like we just had a genuine chat, and he was interested in my life. He was, hey, how are you? Not, oh, hey, and walking like they like Sydney people do. Like, you're not even going to lie about that.
You say hello to someone in Sydney, they think you're trying to rob them.
Seriously? It's like, what? You're like, I'm saying good morning.
Yeah. It's so weird.
But just that genuine like feeling, I guess. I was just drawn to those guys, and then again from there I met all these creatives, all these other people. I was like, fuck, like this is such a huge community. Like, people are genuine up here. Like, I don't think I'm going home. And then I went back to Cronulla in like July of 2020, and it was like hissing down rain. Shay and I had like the worst time. It was like 12-hour drive. We got there, it was raining, it was cold. I'm like, I hate Sydney. Just like, this is terrible. Ticked all the boxes, saw my family, and just like drove back up here. I was like, nah, never going back.
That's how I thought about the sunny coast the last 2 months. It's been pissing down rain. I was like,
soggy coast.
I just want to get out of here. I was like, this sucks. But then, yeah, like heaps of opportunities have opened up since then. And I'm like, man, this is exactly where I'm meant to be. Like, there's so many crazy, like beautiful, creative people that live here. And I'm like, there's so much. Like, I don't think I'm ever going to run out of people to get on a podcast. Like, there's so many.
No way, man. I mean, like you said, like there's just an abundance up here that's just not tapped into, because from what I've seen and heard and felt since I've been up here for like 2.5 years is, it's the Sunshine Coast, not much is happening. Man, there's so much fucking happening up here. It's ridiculous.
It's like, it's so far from the truth. Like,
exactly.
There's so much going on.
it's just that we're in our little bubble that, like, if word got out to, say, Sydney or Brisbane, or, like, somebody came up for something, there's going to be, like, for example, like Reebok. They're like, oh, like, do you have a videographer? I was like, I got 6. Like, do you want somebody? like, oh, fuck, like, we didn't know that. Okay, cool. No, we'll just send all the stuff up to you. I'm like receiving like 6 or 7 boxes of Reebok stuff. I'm like, all right, now time to try and figure out what I'm doing.
Yeah, isn't it crazy? Like, I didn't realize how many photographers there were. Like, I think I've had actually, probably the majority of people that have been on the podcast have been either videographer or photographer. So I'm like trying to step away from getting them on, because I'm like, as much as I want to have them on, I need to like split this up. It was like, otherwise I could pretty much have a whole podcast of photographers.
Just change the name.
Yeah.
Creative photography.
Yeah. So I guess like going back, because I always like to start and then go back.
Yeah.
What were you doing before photography?
Oh, man. I was in construction. So coming out of high school, I worked at Woolies and then jumped into a trade, as my old man was always like, you need a trade to fall back on. And so I did carpentry down the south coast of New South Wales, so in a town called Culburra Beach. And, yeah, I sort of just like paved my way there, and I got a job opportunity coming into like my last year of that to move to Sydney, but it was to do metal roofing. I was like, I'm earning 3 times as much. I'm going to be on a roof all day. I'm going to get a tan. This is going to be sick. Got up there within 3 months. I'm like, I feel like a sultana. I hate this.
It's so rough.
And I was in Sydney, coming from a coastal town to Sydney or Cronulla. It was so much going on that I was literally driving home every weekend. I was like, I can't stand it up here. But I learnt to deal with that. I learnt to sort of just be in my own ways, like be in my own lane. But over the years, like I've done metal roofing, then I've done a diploma in project management. I was a project manager, so I was like in a little cubicle for 5 years. Then when 2019 kind of hit, it was, I was in a transition of like, I did photography over that time. My dad was a photographer back in the day, so he inspired me to like create and always be moving, always like doing something with your hands and something that you love. If you don't love it, don't do it. If you don't like what you're doing, don't do it. That was it. You always told me that. But he's a major inspiration for all my photos, because majority of the time, probably 90% of my photos, I still send to my dad. I still say, hey, can you just like sift through these for me? I'm about to send them off to Reebok or Nike or something like that. And he's like, yeah, cool. This one's terrible. Like, take this out. Leave this one in. I was like, I'm not sure about that one. Like, I didn't like it. And he's like, nah, leave it in. Turns out they love it and they want to post it as well. It's like, okay, like the old man's got it still.
Still got it.
Still got it. But it was March 24, 2020, I remember very vividly. I was doing a job for my old apprentice, funnily enough. I was working for him as like a business development manager and talking to the project managers and stuff, because he hated it, and kind of got me on board as like as kind of a bridge job, so to speak. And I was like, I still didn't know what I wanted to do. I really wanted to transition into creativity, but I needed something to pay the bills. It was about 10:30 at night after I just watched the news, and like, we're shutting the Queensland borders to New South Wales tomorrow at midnight, 25th of March 2020. I was like, I don't know when I'm going to see Shay. We'll go back to Shay, but like we just sort of started dating like a couple of months ago, like again after like 11 years of trying to get together and like all this kerfuffle.
The best love story.
The best love story you're ever going to hear. Or watch on Australian Survivor last season.
That's such a plug, dude. That's such a plug. I was going to get into that, but now no. The cat's out of the bag. Cat's out of the bag.
But no, then I said, I was listening to my gut, and it was the first time in a very long time that I'd listened to my gut. Like, my heart was very heavy at this time because I really wanted to see Shay. I wanted to be next to her. I wanted to have that energy around me, and Cronulla wasn't giving it to me. Like, no one there was, apart from a small handful, were positive. No one was pushing me to, Ben, your photos are sick. Like, or this is cool. Like, not even like a positive reinforcement. It's like, why do you have your camera out? I'm like, we're just at coffee. I'm like, yeah, but I just want to, like, I literally take my camera everywhere I go, except for now because it's getting cleaned. But I didn't have that. So I listened to my gut and I was like, you know what? Like, forget it. I'm going to go. So I emptied my fridge because for some reason I was like, I might not be back and my fridge might get moldy. So I like emptied my fridge.
Life essentials.
Yeah, it was like a thing that mum taught me to do. Emptied my fridge, pulled it out, pulled the plug out, cleaned up everything. I packed for like probably 5 to 6 days worth of clothes. I washed and dried everything, folded it perfectly in my drawers, and then it was 6 or 5:30 in the morning. I didn't really tell anybody I was going except for Shay. I was like, I'm going to come up tomorrow. She's like, all right, how long for? I was like, I have no idea. So I packed some boards, packed some work stuff, packed some tools just in case I don't know, need to do something up here. Excuse me. And 6 o'clock, I left my favourite cafe, Ham, down in Cronulla, and the barista chief, he was just like, so where are you going? I was like, oh, I'm just driving to the sunny coast. He goes, I fucking can't keep up with you. He's just like, pass the coffee. He goes, I'll see you when you're back. Like, yeah, no worries. We didn't speak until like July that year. And that's when I came back. He goes, oh, you're alive. And to this day, he's still my favourite person down there because he's just like, just doesn't say anything positive or negative. He's just flat. He's just like, says it how it is. You don't like it, move on. Like, he's just like, oh, can't keep up with you. Anyway, good luck. He's just like, passed me a double shot and just like walked off. But yeah, and then I drove up here, moved into Shay's parents' house. Like, well, I wouldn't say even moved in. I just got here and I was like, oh, hey guys, like, I'm here.
Benny.
Yeah. I'd met them before, which is cool. That's like, so that was good. That was a great icebreaker. So yeah, I'm not leaving. But and then it was that weird period where everyone was just like not knowing what's going on. Like, I didn't know anybody up here, so I couldn't even get a construction job, or nor did I have the motivation to go back on the tools because I was like, fuck, like I'm surfing and there's like butterflies around me. Like, I've met the dregs. Like, I'm having the best time of my life. And Majimba was like, I was home. Majimba was like little coastal vibes. It was super, super nice. And it was that reset that I needed. And I had this holiday fund that in 2020 I was going to go to Rome in like around Christmas, but a couple of grand in there, and I went straight to the camera store. I was like, I need to start this because Shay was my biggest supporter. She still is. And with her connections through Instagram, however many thousands of followers she has, and she was getting brands and like, hey, can you get this photo for us? And instead of an iPhone, I'm like, hey, I can take this on my camera. Like, I'll give you a few more to choose from. And she was sending them off to the brands that were like, shit, like these are great. Like, we'll buy these. I'm like, I'm sorry, somebody wants to buy my photos? Like, okay, this is hectic. I need to start this. I didn't own Photoshop. I knew what Lightroom was. I just didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have that kick up the backside to go, you can make money from this, but also you can make this a passion, this passion so much more. And so then I went into the camera house, Maroochydore, little name drop there. Hopefully they give me a discount for the next shit I'm going to buy.
Come on, guys.
Shout out. I'll see you guys tomorrow. How good's coffee, by the way?
This is shout out to Stitch Coffee in Sydney. I'm definitely plugging these boys.
We get Stitch too.
Yeah, I got on a subscription.
Sick. They
are the tits. So anyone looking for good coffee, as much as I'd like to support local cafes and coffee roasteries, I can't go past Stitch. They're so good.
They're amazing. I got my AeroPress at home. Shay keeps the beans for her. Like, she gets like a 2 kilo bag of beans, and then I get like,
that's serious.
little.
Yeah, I get. There's Slide. They're a good coffee roastery.
They're great.
But yeah, my friend from Sydney, he's been a barista for was a barista for 10 years. Yeah. He ruined coffee for me because I was like, oh, look at this coffee. I like this rah from like some beans from cans. Yeah. And he's like, come here, Jesse. He's like, righto. And then he like bought out this. It was like a tin, maybe like 150 grams, if that. It was like it was tiny. It was like that big. Yeah. And then he's like, we made 2 coffees. And he's like, all right, now let's taste yours. And I was like, trying it. And he's like, all right, now you taste this one. And it was so good. It was like, I think it was like $150 tin of coffee. It was like the number 1 coffee of the year or something. And he's like, now try this. And then ever since then, I was like, now what? I was like, now I can't drink shit coffee. Yeah. I was like, you've turned me into a coffee snob literally in 1 coffee.
Yeah, like, thanks for coming. You spent all my money.
Yeah, I was like, oh man.
Now I'm gonna have to buy Avo on toast as well.
Where's that sourdough? Where's that concrete at?
Shit just cuts your gums in half.
Oh. But yeah, shout out to Stitch Coffee. They're the boys.
I appreciate
Sponsor the channel, please. Love you so much.
That would be amazing. You'd get me on here a few more times.
Everyone's like, oh, we should come in for the coffee.
That's it. Just have a big mug and a big bag of coffee right there.
Yeah.
We're just coming for a coffee.
Just leave their bag there and just product.
Should. But no, they're great. No, they're amazing. They've sent Shay and I some stuff like a lot. So That's all I drink.
Oh, maybe I'll just hit you up then.
Hit me. Hit Shay up. She's got it all.
Come on, Shay. Come on the podcast.
No, what was it? Where was I at? Like, yeah, just moving up here sort of just it made me reset. I didn't have, I didn't know anybody. I didn't know, I guess, who, like, how did you put it? Like, I wasn't trying to keep up with anybody. I wasn't like, oh, you're a photographer too. Like, oh, I can't show you my photos. I was showing people my photos and they're, oh, I'm a photographer too. And they're like, okay, cool. Like, I get in touch with them and we just kind of like just bounce off one another. I'm like, this is such a positive vibe up here. Like, I can't go home now. I can't go to Sydney. Like, I've still got my 2008 Hilux, well, not anymore. And it's like
Lamborghini.
Shit.
No. Cat's out of the bag.
We didn't win Survivor either, so we didn't buy anything.
I know. Damn.
Well, Shay didn't win. I can't make a fire. I can't even light a birthday cake anymore. It just
I wish I watched the season now because I was like, yeah, surely Beny would know how to.
Dude, if you get a chance, watch it back on 10 play. I think it's like episode. I don't even know. Like right before they make merge, it's so frustrating, man. It's a fire and it has to burn through a string, and I know we'll probably go into detail.
Yeah, I know.
But the flame like blew away from the string, and I was like, what the fuck? It's like I grabbed the whole fire with my hands and like pushed it towards it. I was trying to shield it and stuff. Yeah. I was so like sleep deprived and like just hungry. I just like everything
full
was a
ego killer. Just right. Your masculinity just like, gone out the window.
Mel, her flame like burnt through the string, and then mine literally 5 seconds later sort of went bang, and I went yeah, and then mine went. And I was like, I had the biggest hissy fit on TV. I grabbed like I had a handful of kindling, and I was like, fuck, and just it went everywhere. And Shay's like, like I couldn't do anymore. So
I like the comment, the like the guy who runs it,
JLP,
and he's commenting. He's like, oh, it looks like he's struggling, and like real obvious, like straight, like just really getting in your head.
Oh, like, it's so annoying. Like there's a few times even on challenges, he's like, oh, Ben's having a tough time. I'm like, shut up. He'd laugh, and like they obviously cut that out. Yeah. But like you'd be standing there on like these pegs, like holding a ball above your head for like an hour, and like, Ben's having a real tough time. I'm like, dude, like I thought I was doing all right. Like how shit do I look right now? But it was
that was a TV, but it'd be so good to just watch it in live and just laugh.
It was so funny. But yeah, we'll get back to that. But no, and a lot's happened. Like I landed a sort of an unwritten handshake agreement contract with Reebok that I would do their like Australia Pacific ANZ socials and their .coms, and it just sending stuff up. It was before Shay got signed with Nike. It was just crazy that was just a whirlwind, and it was like, okay, cool, like Reebok have some work for me. It's a massive brand, but for me, I was like,
it's a big moment, hey? Yeah. Like when someone's like invested in your vision, especially with a company of that size, and you're like, oh man, obviously what I'm doing is the right thing to be doing.
Well, that's it, man. And coming in from like October 2020 to landing like a little .com gig, which was like, oh man, we need like 5 or 6 photos. Like I sent them like 160. I was like, I don't know what to choose from. So go nuts. And to go into like a full production where there's model, hair, makeup, everything. And I never dreamed of being possible. I was like, this is me. And I stood back with my best mate, Ed. Good funny story about meeting Ed too, by the way. He just said, Beny, like you've got this, just be confident. Just back yourself. You don't need a pat on the back, pat yourself. He's like, because you've landed yourself here. He's like, and you've brought me along. He's like, I've been doing this for 10 years plus. I've gone to uni to do this. He's like, you literally bought a camera like 6 months ago. And
that's
like,
so crazy, hey?
I was like, oh, okay, like I must be good. And so from then, I backed myself. I love my work. I love every photo that I take. And if I don't love it, I'll shoot again. Even if it's at my own cost. I'm like, no, like these are garbage. Like I need to shoot this whole scene again. But yeah, that's me. Like in a nutshell, I guess, coming from construction to Sydney, country town to construction to Sydney to like trying to keep up with everybody, to moving up here or driving up here to now living my life up here, building this great community, integrated athletics too. If anybody's listening, come to the gym. It's super nice. It's a big vibe. We just revamped the whole thing this morning after a workout. So that was fun. Thanks, Eli. Appreciate it. But no, like having people like that just recognize me from down Sydney, like, oh, you're an ex-athlete and or used to know such and such. Like, yeah, come to my gym. I went there and it's down at Bells Creek, and it's probably 30-minute drive from Majimba. But we made that every day because it was such a vibe, and it still is such a vibe. I'm living in Aura at the moment, and
Rough place.
dude, suburbia.
That is. It's like the white picket fence of Australia.
Bro, and like, I don't know if I could say this. I will say it's like the city of color, and every house is white.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay.
It's like, how do we turn this into the most bland suburb on the coast?
It's so, I love the term beige at the moment.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you're so beige.
It's like you drive, every single house looks the same. All the color schemes are the
like
same.
Cookie cutters.
Yeah, cookie cutter houses. They're all just banked up onto each
With
other.
a 4 drive in every driver because you can't fit in the garage.
Yeah.
It's like, so bonkers, man.
Oh, it's a ridiculous way that the world's going, isn't it?
But no, like, coming from like meeting the dregs and getting on board with more brands with Shay, like we created this like creative duo and again, getting more and more work, which was fantastic. But it was not just me picking up a camera and being good at it. Like I sent 60 plus emails and Instagram messages a day that it would cut me off for 24 hours. So I couldn't send any more messages saying, literally copy paste. Hey, love your brand, love what it's about. Shayelle and I, like, we're doing this business, blah, blah, blah. You can have a post on her page, post on mine, and I'll give you photos for, here's the packages, let me know. I'd send that out to like Bonds Australia. Like, I think my first gig that I got personally was Joko Keep Cups. And like, yeah, we really want to like send you some stuff. I was like a pup with 2 tails. They sent me like 17 Keep Cups and I couldn't fit enough coffee in them and some bottles. And I went bonkers. Like, I was throwing coffee beans at Shay, holding this thing. Like, she was throwing coffee beans in the air and everything. I was like, let's get creative. Let's do this. Sent them an abundance of photos. We're thinking like, this is amazing. Like, I'm super cool. They're like, hey, Ben, just want to let you know we're going with like hell neutral tones and just focusing on the Keep Cup. I'm like, oh, so I just like got coffee beans in the pool for no reason.
Isn't that like such a thing too? Like when people like, when someone's like, all right, I'm going to get creative, they do the most outlandish things. They're like, let's just like make the biggest mess. And like the photos are never like, they are good, but they're never like what you're trying to achieve.
Less is more.
Less is way more.
In the creative scene, less is so much fucking more because the less effort you put in, the better it comes out because it's like, oh, okay, like, I'm not going to go and bring every single light into the studio and like flash the shit out of you so you get sunburnt. It's like, I'll deal with one. It's like,
it always seems to be like the people that are just getting into being creative as well. They're like, oh, this is what everyone else is doing, so let's just do this. It's like, nah, man, just like do what your gut is telling you to do. I'm telling you now, I bet your gut is not saying, hey, let's chuck a whole kilo of beans in the pool. But you're like, we've got to do it because that's what the creative people do.
And again, going back to Kurt, I saw a thing of Kurt Tiltz. He had True Protein coffee, and he's got this one photo. He's got a coffee mug, coffee coming out of it, and coffee everywhere. I was like, that looks sick. Let's recreate this. I made like 17 coffees that day, and I was like throwing them at Shay. She was like pouring cold coffee on her face, and I was like, Kurt's going to love this. They didn't post one photo, nor did I get paid from it. They just got Keep Cups. I was like, okay, cool. Let's learn from this.
That's a lesson. That's a lesson.
But I just had that one photo, and I was like coffee, like creative photo, coffee shots, and I was like Pinteresting my shit out of it.
Worst place to go.
Right, you just end up in this rabbit hole of like rubbish. And from that sort of moment, I think I did a shoot with Shay, and I didn't put any effort in. I was just like, I'm overthinking it. I was in a mood, and I was like, nah, whatever, like let's just shoot. And she goes, I love these photos. I'm like, do I need to stay in this mood? Like, am I that photographer? I was like, whatever.
Yeah. That was like the wanky artist.
Yeah, the wanky. Click.
Whatever, bro.
$1,000, please. But no, I ended up just like, another motto of mine is that don't overthink it. Just get on with it. Like, press on. Yes, I guess with all my photos now, I still get that. Like if I'm going into a shoot, especially in a studio or the Torian Pro, like down in Brisbane, the CrossFit Games. I'm the only photographer one of the only photographers on the floor shooting for the CrossFit Games. It's like a massive thing. And like, shit, like what if I don't get the cool shots that that I got last year? And as soon as I start shooting, I'm like, no, we're good. And that's when I sort of, wound up at the start, and I just like really wind back and just know what I'm doing, know what I'm talking about. I got that pat on the back from myself. I'm like, shit, yeah, like you got this. Just keep moving.
Yeah, it's cool to like when that happens. Like even for me with the podcast, I'm finally starting to get that mentality now where I'm like, I think it's only because I've stayed so consistent now that episodes are coming in and people obviously, I'm starting to get like traction to the point where I think people want to come on the show, not like want to come on because of me in like a dicky way, but like it's like the environment I'm trying to create and the setting I'm trying to set is like a very relaxed, like fun time, and it's just mad to like let someone talk about their creative project and get their voice out there so I can give them a platform that eventually like everyone, like someone could just stumble upon and like find them and like it could provide them more work or whatever.
No, man, it's so true. Like you seem like super calm. I mean, I met you at OzTag and I mean, you're running around like chickens with their head cut off, but
real aggressive on the field.
Yeah, seriously. He's the worst player. He's played like 7 games in a row as well. I play 1, I'm on the floor.
Yeah, literally like back to back 4 games. I think that day that we met, I was playing 4 games.
Yeah,
I was just like,
who's this kid? And you're like, oh, you're a photographer. Yeah. Oh, I love you having me on podcast. Like, what don't you do? It's like, slow down.
That's what it seems like at the moment. I've been telling people, I'm like, yeah, I'm doing this, and this, and they're like, where do you find, like, where are you filling in the time? I'm like, but what I found is, and I think it's been said 100 times by multiple like big business people, it's like when you don't have time, all of a sudden you have time.
Yeah.
But when you have a lot of time, you have no time. It's so bizarre how it works.
So true though.
And like, I'm at the point now where like this is bizarre. It's like I have to book people in to like spend time with them. I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't have like time, especially during the week and stuff, like in a work week. It's like either I'm recording, editing, dealing with like behind the scenes stuff, working on other projects. It's like I've got like 2 hours on a Friday afternoon. Yeah. You're more than welcome to come in. I'll book you in.
You come to me though.
Yeah, it's like but other than that, I don't really, granted on the weekends and stuff, but like today, for instance, I'm recording, this is my 3rd episode that I've done today. Yeah. It's like I fitted in a lunch time with my mate quickly, and then even had to like shift you back. And I was like, oh shit. Like,
no, that's the thing. I knew that you were doing more and more, and you're like, oh, can we push it to 1:30? I was sitting on the couch not doing shit.
No.
And I was like, oh, I'm so fucking busy. No, but I was like, yeah, that's fine. Like, again, it's good to know you personally because I know the behind the scenes, and like straight up say like, I've had 3 on today. I'm like, oh, that's epic. And as we said before this, it's productive rather than busy, but you said you're the epitome of like, you're actually busy. I was like, oh, okay, shit. Now you're booking in people just to have lunch with them. I'm like, fuck, you sound like Shay.
Yeah, it's bizarre. But then like the downside of being that busy is that when you aren't like, if there's something not booked in and then you've got this spare time, you're like, oh, I probably should be doing something. Yeah. Like I really need. But like you forget to give yourself downtime. Yeah. So that's something I've learned recently is like allowing yourself to have downtime and being comfortable with that, because for a long time growing up, I just didn't understand it. If I wasn't working, I was like, nah, there's something wrong. Like I'm not getting anywhere.
I need to like be with mates. I need to go out and be doing something. And I said to you as well this morning, like just before this, I was like, this afternoon, I'm doing nothing. My feet are up on the couch. I'm watching something dumb on Netflix. If anything, I'm scrolling on Instagram. Like I booked myself out for 4 to 5 hours to do fuck all. And if I didn't have that, I know full well tomorrow or even the next email I send would be a little bit resentful. I was just like, I got to do this. It's like, no, you need that reset. But I completely understand, especially during the week, if I'm doing edits or if I finish edits like an hour or 2 early, I'm like, okay, what can I be doing? And then like I'll call my mate Ed and like, what can we do? Like, where are we at with like the preset bundle and stuff like that? Like, when are we going to do that? He's like, Benny, I've got 5 weddings this weekend. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like,
you're busy.
Yeah, you're busy. I'll just sit back down. Like, but it's okay to sit down. Like seriously, we need that. We need that reset button.
Well, yeah, even after this, so like after I get off here, I'm then going to catch up with 2 of my best mates, and then we're going to like one of us cooking us dinner and like irrelevant information, but like, do you know what I mean? Like I've just this whole day is jam packed, and then on Sunday I've got to get ready to go back to sea. So then Monday I'm busy, then Tuesday I fly to Darwin for a whole month. Yeah. So like there's just it's just.
Did you say back to sea?
Yeah, I'm going back to I was in the maritime industry, so I was in the Navy, and then I I'd done like I was doing roofing for my uncle, and then now I've just got a new job working on like cargo vessels, providing like cargo for remote communities up in the top end. So now I'm going back there on Tuesday for a whole month, and then I'm back. So I've just recorded enough.
There you go.
Busy.
Busy. Shit. Yeah. So I'm literally booked for the next month.
So I've had to record enough episodes to get me through to the end of the month. So
shit.
And then when I get back, I'll be like,
don't call Jesse.
Just
busy.
Just like send an automated message.
Voice memos. That's all right.
Voice memos are like the best. They're so efficient.
I was like, when I text you, or you sent me a voice memo, like, hey, do you want to be on the podcast like this weekend? And I was like, oh, this guy sounds hectic. I was like, I know how much he runs around. I'm like, yeah, no, I really want to be on this podcast. And I went to do it. I deleted like 7 voice messages. I was like, yeah, g'day, mate. It's Benny. Like, how do I say g'day, mate? I'm like, fuck.
I do not speak like this.
I don't do. And I typed it. I was like, no, I'm not going to type it. I was like, oh, I went to type it. I was like, why am I telling him I went to type it? I was dead set. It was like, I was just excited. I'm like, oh, I just want to be at that level. And I was just like, no, I want to seem busy as well. I was like, yeah, man, that should be fine. Like, so good. No worries. Yeah, just let me know details. I was like, you're a dick. Like, why do you do that?
It's so efficient though. And Australians for some reason don't like voice memos. It's like this. It's like we're 10 years behind the rest of the world. Like Europeans are like, you'll see them walking down the street just voice memoing whoever they're talking to.
So good.
It's so efficient. I even got Mitch on it.
Yeah.
He was like, I never voice memoed before I got.
I think it's because I hate the sound of my own voice. Like you can hear yourself in this, but it's like I'm not putting on an accent or anything like that. But like when it's I'm actually British. That's but when you have a voice memo, it's for some reason I'm just picturing that other person, like you going, this guy, like why does he sound like that? Like not paying any attention to what I'm actually saying. I don't know why. My mentality is like I don't care what other people think. Like I've never thought that. But when it comes to my voice, I don't know what it is. I'm like, do you sound like an idiot?
I used to think that at the start, and then I was like, this is just the efficient way to get stuff done.
But I think if you got like sitting down and doing a voice memo, you overthink it so much.
Yeah, because you don't.
You need to be moving. So I was like, as soon as I was sending your voice message back, I'm like, I've got to pick up a cup. I was like, oh yeah, hey man, now I sound cool. It's like, fuck, man.
I think when I sent you that voice memo, I was literally on the roof or I was driving. It was one of the two. I was just like, this is my 5 minutes of time to like get this done. I was like, done. Yeah.
Nah, I appreciate the voice memo. I'm going to be doing it a lot more. I know like Shale, my partner, like she does like crazy. She'll get back to like her followers and stuff. She's like, hey, like, or she'll just like double tap and leave it. I'm like, don't you actually like text them? She's like, this is my DMs, and she'll scroll through them.
And just be like,
oh, okay, you're a big deal. I was like,
oh yeah, people hit you up all the time.
Yeah, it's like,
have a look at mine.
It's like, oh, there's mum. She's commented on my photo. Thanks, mum.
Let's dive into the Survivor.
Yes.
Because I've always been intrigued. So my ex-partner, her dad is the biggest Survivor fan. He's watched every single season. He would have watched your season, and he'll probably love this episode because obviously someone from Survivor's on there. Yeah, man. But he's a weapon. Like he's the fittest guy I know. That guy is busy. When I'm like, yeah, I'm busy. He's like 10 steps above me busy. Yeah. I'm just gonna shout him out. I don't care because I love him so much. He's a weapon. He'll do like 50k rides in the morning, then he'll do like 10k runs straight after the ride. Then on the weekend he does a 150k ride. Then he has 3 kids which all play sport, all play individual sports. Then he's running around getting them to training, getting them to sport. Then on top of that he's married, so he has to make time for his partner as well. I'm like,
he must drink Stitch coffee.
He doesn't drink coffee at all. No coffee. I shit you not. After a ride, everyone's like, you know how boys are like coffee time?
Yeah.
He just gets a hot chocolate.
Oh man,
he's my inspiration.
That's epic.
He's a weapon.
Whatever he's got, send it up this way.
He's an absolute machine. Hey.
That's hectic.
Yeah, he's my dad inspiration. If I was to ever have kids, I was like, I want to be like that guy.
I think it's with everything, like work. Like if you're on a roll with something, nothing's too much. Nothing's like if you're training heaps. Like, hey, I'll just go to the gym again this afternoon. If you're roofing, for example, you're tradie. Tradie life's hard in Australia. Like it's bonkers, especially up in Queensland. It's hot, it's hard, it's humid. Like if you work a Saturday one week and then have like a half day Sunday because it rains or something, Monday's nothing because you're like, I'm back into it, back in the swing. Dad life, something like that, if you're on a roll, I reckon if he stopped, he'd fall apart.
Yeah, just crumble.
And that's what I'm like, as soon as I have a kid, I'm like, put your runners on, Benny. Like, because especially if it's like Shale, a nice kid, you're going to have nothing but ADD. It's just going to be like running around creating an absolute mess. It's pretty much Shay in a nutshell.
Yeah, she's hyperactive.
Oh, there's no
every time I see
mistake,
her, she's just like so happy.
On the Oz tag
bubbly,
field,
yeah.
she's just like doing cartwheels. I'm like, girls, fuck.
I'm like, focus on the game. She's like running around, just having
But
fun.
I can't catch a ball. I'm like, why are you playing?
Yeah. The enjoyment, I guess. But yeah, getting back to Survivor.
Yeah.
Can you run through the whole process from like sending your application, because I guess on TV, when you watch it, you only see the bits that they edit and make into it. No one ever sees like the behind the scenes, what it's actually like when you're laying in camp at night and the cameras, if they ever switch off, I don't know if they do.
They definitely don't.
But like, yeah, that kind of process.
First and foremost, I don't know how much I can actually say that happens behind the scenes and stuff like that.
I didn't really think about that.
Yeah, that's because there's a lot that goes on. There's so many moving parts. There's cameras on all the time. Like the producers are there, like in front of you. They can't talk to you. They're not there. You got sound guys and camera guys that you say good morning to just to like change the scenery, and they're just like staring at you. They can't say shit, but you know them by name by the end of the time. But jumping back to the start, like we didn't send an application in. We got approached because Shay has applied to be on like the demo crew, like it's called the All Stars, and it's like the people who run through the challenges and things like that.
Oh, the guys that like do the challenges before the. I've heard about this.
Yeah, they test them all.
Yeah,
like shout out to Big Fletcher too. He's absolute king. He was you see his ankles at the start of every challenge. He's like, that's me, and he's like, he was part of what they call the dream team. That's what they call them, and they're an absolute amazing bunch out there. Fletcher was like giving us like water, like you can hear him coming with our water bottles like in between challenges and stuff like that. So like they did amazing behind the scenes. Like big shout out to every single person that made that possible. But Shay applied for that a couple of years ago, and then her name being an influencer and things like that got thrown around for this season. And she got approached to saying, can we have you on an interview with you and a loved one, not me. She's like, does anybody in your family love Survivor? And her cousin Greg, I think it was, is like a massive fan, like super, super fan. They had an interview together, and it's like, oh, like we didn't really vibe with Greg, but like we love what you're about, Shay. And then they obviously stumbled across me, like being Shay's partner, and our Zoom call was just me eating food, and like they asked the question like, oh, would you ever throw Shay under the bus? I'm like, yeah. It's like, would you blindside her? Probably. It's like, would you vote for Shay? It was like, yeah, like I get it. Like if she's in front of me and it's a good opportunity, I would definitely do that. And like, really? And I was looked across, and Shay's just nodding along. She would do the exact same for me. And they're like, guys, we love you. We love what you're about. Like, and again, like as cute as it is, like we're so in love. We're like not attached to the hip, which is fantastic. I've never had that in a relationship.
I need to hear her side of the story about this, because you're like, we're so in love. right. She's gonna jump on. She
annoys
like,
the shit out of me.
That's
why
not.
She's off to Bali on Monday for like 2 weeks. Here's a side story. This is actually funny. It made me laugh because we're not joined at the hip, which is great, and never had this in a relationship where you've had to be by the side and stuff. We give each other space that we need, and it just works. Like things just work when we're together. But mind you, when we bump heads, like we're just not communicating much the same as everybody in life. But she's going to Bali for a retreat. She's hosting a retreat over there, doing yoga and things like that. And she's having like an extra week. I was like, oh, here's my opportunity. I get to go back to Bali. I was like, oh, so do you want me to come with you like for the last week? Before I finish the sentence, she's just like, no. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, cool. That's it. Cool. But I didn't take it to heart. I was like, you know what? Like it's a reset for her because she currently lives with her parents. It's a noisy household, and when she comes to my house, I'm renting with mates and friends, and it's like she can't just study. She's studying biomed. She's like 70+ hours a week.
Just a weapon, eh?
Just non-stop. She has a coffee, her head nearly explodes, but she's just she doesn't stop. But it was fantastic for us to be like, okay, cool, we're gonna go into this together, but we kind of knew that we're going to be playing a part. So it was blood versus water, which is the loved ones, and you verse each other. So me being me, stupid competitive, CrossFitter, I was like, fuck yeah, I'm going to win every challenge. And we won some like immunity challenges. I was all like hyped up, like high-fiving the shit out of my tribe mates. Like, shit, yeah, turn around, and Shay's just got this sad look on her face. She's like, I'm going home tonight. I was like, oh, I completely forgot about this.
Sorry.
It was like 47 degrees, you're not getting fed, and it's like, it is what it is. Like, you don't get any extra food. You get water in a well, which they like have like
Obviously
they fill up for you. But the first 3 days, we didn't make fire. We couldn't make fire because everything was so humid and wet. We couldn't like rub the sticks together and create. It was so close. And then on the 73rd hour, we finally got it. It was just like this ember appeared, and we like just threw a whole paperbark tree on top of it. Just like it blew up. But yeah, you get rice and beans, which is uncooked, and nothing else. That unless you win a reward. But like, I think I won a hot dog and croissants. That was it. And then I was like starved the rest of the time. I lost 12.5 kilos, which was bonkers. I think Shay lost 10. Like, she doesn't have.
She's got nothing on her.
She got nothing to lose. She's the size of this mic when she came out. But it was amazing. Such an amazing opportunity. I would not have done it if Shay wasn't on board as well. It's one of those things that you go, I don't think I could ever be on a TV show. But then you get asked to be on a TV show, and you're like, oh, I'm doing this. And we still to this day don't realize how big of a deal it is. Like, Shay kind of does, but our lives are like the Survivor crew are like, all right, well, you're going from 0 to 100 to be on the show. And then you're going from 100 to 0 to that time in between the show being aired and you coming home with a beard and 12 kilos lighter to not being able to tell anybody. And then when the show starts, you're going from 0 to 100 again. And I was like, hang on a minute, like looked at Shay, I was like, our 0 is pretty good. Like, our 0 is at like 95. Like, so we're already like not just sitting down doing nothing. And Shay's so productive with she's
Not allowed to say the busy word.
Nah, busy words are bullshit. But no, she's busy. She does like 70 hours a week at study. I'm creating my business, my photography business, creating like networks and things like that. That when I got home, it was a pretty tough time to like go back to reality. Again, I'll touch on that, like mental health things, very, very close to me. But we didn't really realize how big of a deal it is. And like, until one day I was at the football at the Sunny Coast Stadium, and a guy was like, hey, like, do you get noticed a lot, like from being on Survivor? I was like taken back that he noticed me. I was like, oh, not really. Like, if I'm with Shay, like we do, because I'm 6'4", she's like 4'6", and like chalk and cheese, so to speak. And I looked behind me, and there was a lineup of like 6 families, like dads and mums with their phones, like, can we get a photo? I'm like, I'm sorry, what? I was like, of me? And like, yeah, like we're massive fans of Survivor. I was like, Jesus, like, okay, this is a thing. And then obviously as the show went on, it was like, not that we're getting noticed heaps, but there is an abundance of like Survivor fans out there that all over the world are like, Ben, you played such a good game. They're like so invested in our lives and stuff that I'm like, whoa, like,
it is like, it's a, especially in Australia, I would say that Survivor is probably one of the biggest TV shows getting around, apart from Home and Away, which is mind-boggling that bloody TV show is still going.
Right. I had like for some reason it was on the telly the other day, and I'm like, they still alive?
How many how many like times do they rinse the same storyline?
Seriously,
it's like, come on, guys.
There's another murderer in some.
The murderer,
great.
the badass coming into town.
Yeah.
Someone's pregnant with a kid.
Yes.
The kid doesn't make it. The drama around that. It's like, come on, guys. Yeah. Surely you just. But apparently, this is what I've heard. I don't know how true it is, but apparently in London, Home and Away is like massive.
Right. They play it twice a day, and they still haven't caught up with the episodes in Australia yet.
That is insane.
That's ridiculous.
They need a bloody Grammy just for sticking that out for that long. I'm like, man, you guys are there. You've been there. You're in the trenches.
Have you ever been to Summer Bay?
Yeah. It doesn't look anything like it's so. If you were a fan of the show and then you went and seen it, you'd be like,
so disappointed.
This sucks.
Seriously. The surf club's like a demountable. And like the beach is the bay. It's called Summer Bay. It's usually like swimming in a pond.
It's so gross.
Sorry, Home and Away.
Sorry, Home and Away, you're great.
Can have me on anytime. But now back to Survivor. It was, you sleep in the dirt. You don't have any pillows or beds unless you win them. It wasn't sand either. It was riverbed sand. So it was like these tiny rocks that would get fucking everywhere.
Where was it shot?
In a place called Charters Towers up
Yeah, I know where
north
Charters
of
Towers is.
Townsville. But 45 degrees, 100% humidity at like 11 o'clock every day.
Yeah,
I was
it's
like,
hot.
okay, this is hot. But Michael Crocker and I would like try and like tan our thighs and stuff like in between challenges, and then get back to camp like, why are my legs on fire? It's like, because they're so burnt. But it was great. Like I had a great time, met some great connections. Like Khan Ong is an amazing friend of mine now.
He's been on it before, right?
No, he's been on MasterChef.
That's right. I was like, because I know, like when I seen the photo with you and him together, I was
Yeah.
like, I swear I've seen this dude somewhere.
Yeah. Man can cook. And he's like, I'll just cook your dinner, Benny, when you're down in Melbourne. I'm like, nah, man, like it's your job. Like, don't. It's kind of like asking me to take photos of him. Like, I wouldn't mind, but at the same time, I just want to chill. He goes, no, I just get content, and at least we'll know we're getting good food. And he's a great friend, a great sort of mentor as well to get into networking, I guess, especially in the fashion industry and stuff. Like, Khan's amazing. I take a lot from him because he's, one, so much fun to hang around, and two, he's just don't say thank you for anything, just move on with it. You're here to do a job, know where you want to be or where you want to get to, and get there. By any means, get there. Don't be a dick about it, but get there. And like, shit, like he, especially like coming into my last episode, like I was a bit worried because I knew Shay did a lot better than me. Being on the show, getting voted out just before Shay, I got home and I got to have my little wig out while she was still on the show. There's no contact in the outside world. Like, I didn't know how she was going. I knew how rough and tough it was. So I was like, shit, I hope she's doing okay. I wanted to hear from her, but I didn't at the same time. Then when I heard from producers saying like she's made the top 4, top 3, I was like, okay, sick. So we got to fly up there. But in that meantime, I was in Coles, and there's so much like stuff going around in this world, like your phone, cars, people are busy just trying to get places. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that when I get home. So went to Coles. I walked up to like the fruit and veg section, and I was like, why is there 17 different styles of apples? Like, I want an apple. I don't want Granny Smith red. It's like, fuck, just give me one. So I took a breath. I was like, you know what, this is fine. So I put it in my basket, and I grabbed one of those plastic bags, and I picked it up, and it just had a hole in the bottom. Any other day of the week, I wouldn't have cared. Apple fell on the ground. I was like, it hit the ground. The old lady picked it up because it rolled over next to her. She goes, I hate when that happens. And she put it in my basket. And for some reason, I had this, like, in a movie where everything zooms out. That happened. I thought everyone was looking at me. I was like, you've just created a scene. Everybody knows who you are. Not that I'm a big deal or anything. It was just like attention was on me, and I freaked out. I like this switch in my brain. I started crying, like instantly bawling. And I put my basket down. The old lady still standing there with the other 3 apples that I dropped. She's like, oh, okay. And Coles have these like doors that when you walk in, you can't walk out of those motherfuckers. So I was like, it's all right. I'm fine. And just everything's like hopping over these things. And the last one, I pushed it, like it went back on itself, and like, I just had like a breakdown. But to this day, I'm still so grateful that I did that. Like, I had that time before Shay got home, because when Shay got home, I was a little bit controlling in regards to, like, this is what worked for me. Like, we need to do this. So I took her to the Carlisle in Brizzy and said, like, we're staying here for as long as you want. She's like, oh, I think I'll be fine. Like, I'll just catch up on emails. I'll do this. And she just wanted to get back into life. She just wanted to dive in. We went down to the restaurant, and after 47 days being in the desert, she sits down at the restaurant, and the guy comes over and goes, oh, do you want water to start? Like, yeah, that'll be great. And he goes, oh, do you want still, sparkling, tap, or cold? And Shay just went, this is too much. And she started like overwhelmed and everything. And so I was like, this is what I mean. This is what happens. And again, there's just so much going on in this world that when you're out there, you have nothing. You just have some producers with a camera in your face. It's kind of like this podcast. I'm used to this now. Like, I'm used to hearing my voice. Like, you're used to, you're fishing for 4 hours in your Speedos and a bucket hat and a camera being here. I'm like, can you go put a fish on the end of the hook for me? Like, at least get some content. Like, you just get used to all that, and that's your life. You don't have any other say. You don't have any other decisions to make other than you're going to a challenge now. You go to a medical check and things like that. So you do get medical checks out there, which is great. But
that happened to me. Like, that's a thing. Like, when I was in the Navy, you'd go to sea for like a good month or 3 months or whatever, and you'd come back, and this is legit. Like, I reckon I've gotten social anxiety from the Navy because you'd come back, and so you're in a small environment, much like what you were doing on Survivor. You're on a floating tin can out in the middle of nowhere, 30 people, 30 personalities, and then you come back and you go to the shopping mall, and there's like 200 people in the shopping mall, and you like I get overwhelmed, like to the point where like I've had full freakouts, and I'm like I can't be in here, and like ex-partners and stuff that have been with me are like, what's going on? I'm like you just don't understand me. Like you go from like 30 people, little movement, no contact to the outside world, to then having like the hustle and bustle of life, especially. And I still to this day now, I can't go to shopping malls. I can't go to like supermarkets. Yeah. If I'm going there, I'm like, I need to have a list of things that I'm going for. I'm like, go straight in there, go what you need, don't look at anyone, and then just get out. Yeah. It's like, it is, I can sympathize because it happens to me. It still happens to me now. Like I just go there, like especially in the Sunshine Plaza. I'm just like, all right, I know what I want. Just go find the place, get there, and straight out.
I had to go to big shout out to Lululemon, by the way. Had to go to Lululemon, and I didn't know where it was. I was like, is it top floor? Is it?
It's amazing there. It's a bloody maze.
And I messaged Shay. I was like, oh, whereabouts is Lululemon? She goes, I'm in an exam. I'm like, you could have texted me where it is. Like, don't tell me you're in an exam. And she goes, it's upstairs. I'm like, oh fuck, okay. Like, I'm not going to bother her anymore. First escalator I went up, I saw Lululemon. I was like, oh, thank fuck, I know where this place is. Did what I had to do in there, and I came down, and I just saw like the sea of people just like moving. I was like, ugh, like got to get out of here. Just like just beeline for my car. Got home, I was like, fuck, I need to go to Woolies. It's like just forget about it. But no, it's I can sympathize with that. But my main thing, which was great for me, like we had a psychologist in there. Like if anything was up, like we got to talk to them
in the show.
The show, yeah, because there were times like people are missing their kids, and like, he'll talk to them about that. And my thing was to go up to him, Tony. Big shout out to Tony. He's amazing. Troy, sorry, not Tony. Troy. He I'd talk to him. I was like, hey, like, what did you do this morning? He goes, no, like I want to ask you how you are. I was like, no, this is getting my mind off the whole thing. Like, how are you? He goes, yeah, I'm good. I was like, just had brekkie, and he'll just tell me about his morning. I'm like, oh, what did you have for breakfast? He goes, I can't tell you that. I'm like, just tell me. He's like, I had bacon and eggs. I'm like, prick.
Bastard.
And I was like, we just finished a challenge. I just got my ass kicked, and we're going to tribal council tonight. And I'm like, just asking him what he had for breakfast. And like, he's fantastic. Like he was there for everybody. It's a hard thing because you are away from your loved ones, away from your family and stuff like that. But yeah, the whole coming back was bonkers. Like even today, like it's when I don't want to do something now, my patience with that sort of stuff, it's very thin. It's I really don't want to do this anymore. And I'll pack up shop and leave. If it's like I need to go home, I need to go like from the gym, I need to go home and have my 2 pieces of raisin toast with peanut butter on it in the morning and a coffee. It's like, I need that routine. I don't know. Just Survivor. Survivor's rough, mate. That was our motto out there.
This is one thing I do want to know, but you did kind of touch on it. So with the food situation, they do not feed you at all.
Nothing.
So it's essentially like you're getting deprived of food and your mental ability to like think and...
Yeah, you start, not necessarily hallucinating, but like by the end of day 3 with no food, I was like, all right, I'm about to chuck a tantrum.
Because what do they only give you coconut and rice.
They give you beans and rice, and it's in like they either give you 3 or 4 days worth of rations, but over the course of the game, you need to work out if it's 3 or 4 days. So you need to ration that. You can't just eat as much as you want and they fill it up.
Oh, so they're like, here's a kilo of rice, here's a kilo of beans, figure it out.
We're going to give it to you for 3 or 4 days. So you ration for 3 days, and if it's 4, like you've still got extra left and nothing gets topped up, you're like, okay, cool.
Oh, so they don't even tell you when they're going to top it up again? No.
That's
the best. That's so hectic. Good. That's so good.
But there was a day where at Shay's tribe it happened, like someone didn't ration properly, and she's like, oh, we're out of food. Like, I thought they were going to top it up. Shay's like, they do it when we're out, like when we're at challenges, that's when they behind the scenes come in, and you get home and you're like, shit, yeah, we got like lots of food tonight, or enough food. And for us, because we didn't eat for 3 days, I like sneakily looked at the producer, I'm like, can we just hook into this? Like, sorry, that cut out. Like, can we just hook into this because we're so friggin' hungry, it's ridiculous. And he just like gave us the nod of approval. We put like the whole thing of rice in there. It was like all the beans, and we had like leaves as plates, and we were just hooking in because we didn't eat for 3 days. Like, it was just the biggest celebration. Like we threw a whole paperbark tree on top, and the producer's like, "Oh, it's getting a bit out of hand, guys." I'm like, "Shut up, man! Like we got fire. Like leave us alone now.
This is exciting.
Yeah, we're good now. Like we're fine." But it's absolutely bonkers. Like the stuff that goes on behind the scenes. Like you guys see us like covered in dirt, which is all real. Like our cuts and everything are all real. It's so much going on. It's like an absolute, like not a circus, but just a production. It is ridiculous. But it's structured in the way of like, all right, guys, we're going to film the walk off now. Like I don't want to give too much away, but it's like then you get to your challenges.
Yeah, it's like standard. It's standard like filming procedure.
Yeah,
yeah.
But nothing scripted. He asked you a question. And it was like, hey, like you voted off Jesse last night. What about what's going on there? He's like, oh, Jesse was a dick, like to a degree. Like you can say things like, oh, he just didn't fit well with the tribe, blah, blah, blah. No one's telling us to say anything. JLP will fire off like 10 questions and they obviously grab like the best one. Like I said a couple of one-liners and I'm like, oh, fuck, please don't put that in. Like I need to find these editors and just be like, guys, what do you want? I don't want these shit one-liners in there because it was just horrible jokes.
I heard this is about with The Bachelor and things like that, the producers like starting shit with like something would happen and then the producers would come in and be like, oh, did you know that this is going on and someone said this and like all this like spicy like, and that's why I don't know how true this is because I've never spoken to someone from that, but apparently that's what the producers do. They're like, oh yeah, this person said this about this and blah blah blah, and they're like kind of like just pushing rumors around, and then it sparks like all this like tension between like all the like people that are on it.
From what I've heard about The Bachelor and things like that, like it wouldn't surprise me, but I honestly couldn't tell you because there's so much drama in that show. Where like Survivor's drama, but it's
like real drama.
You're literally playing a game. And if you don't like someone, you don't like them. Like there's a handful of people that aren't my people. Like I still like them, I still love them. Like we had a journey together. Like, we went camping together. Like
it's literally camping, but with fun activities involved.
Hectic. You rip your pants on day one. 45 minutes into digging a hole, rip my pants top to bottom. My arse was out the whole time. But yeah, like it's real drama. I don't necessarily associate myself with those people unless it's Survivor related because in real life, like I wouldn't go up to them and spark something because not saying they're not nice people, it's just not my vibe. They're not my people. But other people like Geordie, Jordan, Jesse, and like a couple other crew that's on there, like Sophie, like and Khan, like Mel, the twins, like a couple of people like that. They're amazing people. Like we just vibed from the get go. Like we're blunt, we're straight. Like first person I could obviously say is like Sophie Keisha. She's just phenomenal in business. She's phenomenal as a person. She's like, I didn't know who she was or what she did. Coming out of the game, I'm like, you're exactly the same as what you were in there. Like you didn't take shit from anybody. You don't take shit from anybody outside of this thing. And we get along like an absolute house on fire. But it's something Survivor related pops up. Not saying we don't care about it. It's like, oh yeah, like we went camping once. We're at that level of not saying we don't care about it, but it's like a
box above.
No,
no, yeah.
Tough. But
yeah, I get that.
But no, in a nutshell, like Survivor was. We had a saying, like, Survivor's rough, mate, because that's what the medics would say to us all the time. It's like, oh, just drink water. Survivor's rough, mate. I'm like, dude, like I have a fucking crook neck because Mark Wales, an ex-SAS soldier, like ripped my head off. I'll just drink water, keep hydrated, you'll be fine. I was like, dude,
he won though, didn't he?
He won, yeah. He played before, but he's very good.
But that's the thing, like, and this is the thing. If you don't understand military, like SAS soldiers are the elite of the elite. They're better. They're even more elite than commandos. Like they are next. They're like the top tier. So they understand psychological warfare. They understand. Like they know so much. Like that's what they're trained in. Like they're bloody killers. Like they're literally killers at the end of the day. Like that's their job.
He wasn't on my tribe, so when I could speak, like we could. To put in perspective, like Shay and I's tribe were an hour drive away from one another. They weren't like across the river where you can just go, oi, like, what are you guys having for dinner? Like rice and beans?
Oh, they were like separated. So when you went to go into like challenges and stuff?
Yeah, we don't just walk there. I don't know if we can say, like, we drove there. Like it's
because obviously property. You're in a big, massive property.
It's bonkers property. It's somebody privately owned. It's huge, man. So to put in perspective, like, again, I'm not 100% sure how much I can say, but like we drive to challenges could be 5 to an hour and 45 minutes away.
That's a long time.
It's a long time just sitting around like, talk. I bet No talking, like no strategizing, nothing. You just like.
Oh, you're not allowed to talk at all in the car.
Not allowed to talk. Yeah. So
I would struggle. I don't know how Shay is because I know Shay's like super, she's like me, like super active.
Yeah.
So I don't know how the hell she just sat there and didn't say a word.
Yeah, she took it pretty tough, but she was good. She had her outlet of like yoga and stuff like that in the morning and things like that. But no, it was, all around it was rough. All around it was rough, but I got voted out. I lost a fire challenge. I was out the back.
Oh, is that how you got you? Like, is this the one you were talking about before, where the fire wasn't like blowing you away?
Fire challenge. Ugh, terrible. Story of my
The
life.
bane of your existence.
Yeah, seriously, can't even light birthday cakes anymore.
You know what's so funny? It's like it's so frivolous. It's like people are despising you as a human because you can't even do the basic thing.
Seriously, I was shooting CrossFit Games down at Torian the other weekend, and one of my friends was in the crowd, and Harriet, they had like a ceremony, an indigenous ceremony, and they lit a fire, like with rubbing sticks together, and they lit a fire like as a ceremony to like welcome.
Yeah, the smoking ceremony.
Yeah. And she messaged me, she's like, why couldn't you light a fire this quick? I was like, you bitch. Like, straight away, it's so annoying. Or someone sees a lighter and they're like, hey, Benny, look at this. Fire. I was like, piss off.
It's never going to go away.
Never going to go away. But it was the day before tribal merge, and I was kind of confident. I knew that my tribe was out to get me because I was the alpha in the group, and I was a bit of a challenge beast, and I had a target on my back to be like, oh, if he makes merge, he's going to team up with Shay because she was still in it, and they're going to be a dominant team. And first person I wanted to get out was Mark. I'm like, you guys are idiots. Why haven't you got him out like already? Because SAS soldier, he knows what's going on.
I don't know.
He plays dumb, and I'm like, he's played before, but he's also quite literally killed people.
That's literally the thing. It's like an SAS soldier who's literally designed in warfare to be in this environment with no food, no nothing, and then on top of that, be a psychological warfare beast because that's what their whole team is about. And you've left him in. He would have been the first person I would have got rid of.
Blade survivor already, and that's for me. I don't know. Sam, his partner, was in, and I went under her wing a bit. But I was like, okay, like not saying, I can beat Sam. I was like, if it comes down to challenges, I feel I've got it over her. But Shay would have it over her as well. So Shay was my shield with Sam, and I wanted to sort of like butter Sam up. But when first time I got blindsided, she's like, I'm so sorry. I was like, I was like, yeah, you got me. Like, you've played this before. And that's when I switched. And I was like, all right, now Australia's going to see the nicest asshole they're ever going to meet. Like, I'm a nice guy from the get-go. But if you're a dick to me, by all means, like, feel the wrath of me being an absolute prick to you because I had nothing to do with you anymore. Like, Control, Alt, Delete. Like, you're out. Like,
especially in a game where you're, like, deprived of food. You're tired, you're, like, super tired.
But that's the thing. Like, everybody's whinging that they're hungry, but the editor's like, hey, Benny, like, you're going to be the hungry one. I'm like, I'm just going to be whinging the whole time. And that's what they did. Like, Benny was hungry. Oh, he's hungry. Oh, I was hungry. Oh, I'm hungry. Is anyone else hungry? I'm like, fuck, guys. Like, shut up. Make something else. Like, but anyway, cut to, like, I got blindsided, didn't go home. Another tribal. I voted somebody out, voted Michael Crocker out. Shout out to Michael Crocker. He still doesn't talk to me. Sorry, bro. Touchy subject.
He's like, I hate you.
He hates you. Like, if I saw him in the Gold Coast, he would fucking crash tackle me. Like, he would snap me in half. But no, I sent him a couple of messages saying, look, all game stuff aside, like, I just want to see if he's doing all right. So, again, shout out to Mark. I do hope he's doing all right. I do hope that everything's going fine. I do hope that he gets another chance to play in Survivor because I know that he'll thrive. But it's a game.
It's just a game at the end of the day. If you're a sore loser and you're going to be upset about getting voted out in a game, don't go play that game.
Exactly.
Go just grow plants or something. Do you know what I mean? Like that's what it is. It's a game literally to win money. Who else would like if you're not aggressive and competitive?
Yeah.
Then why the hell are you there in the first place?
Exactly. And it's not like you can hold. I could have held his hand to go up on the podium with him. And I took that in my stride. I cut all emotion out of it. It was hey, like I am sorry, but at the same time, I'm thinking of me. Yeah, I need to be in this game for another 2 or 3 days. Yeah. Like I don't care. So then those 2 or 3 days roll around, and it was I got voted out, and then somebody from the other tribe got voted out as well. So we had a fire challenge. The person who won the fire challenge got to stay in the game. Literally made merge the next day, which is like a massive
that's
thing.
a big moment in the game.
And I missed out by 1 day, which I was pissed about. But again, I got to go home. I got to have my little wig outs and stuff, which was fine. But the fire challenge literally was like 5 seconds apart from like me winning. And it was sad. Like Shane and I had like a little emotional thing there. I was like, you know what? Like you've got this. It's so fine. Like I'm not your shield anymore, but just sit in the shadows. Like you're going to do fine. She got so far. She did so well. Sorry. She did so well. And I think the first time in my life I got home and I was like, I am so proud of what I've done. Like I was in the desert for 25 days. I was like absolutely belted up by some random huge dude. Like he snapped my neck in half, nearly drowned 3 times. Like all this crazy stuff, got bit in the ass by a scorpion, like trod on brown snakes. Like it is absolutely crazy. But I wouldn't take it back. I wouldn't do anything different than what I did. I do hope I get the opportunity to play again because I'll come out a little bit hotter, but with a bit more strategy. So that'll be fun to see if that happens. But yeah, like going into like playing the game, coming home, I started. This is going to touch on the mental health side of things. I was home and the people that knew that were on Survivor, like, oh, how was it? Like, how is everything? I'm like, yeah, good. Like Shay's doing really well. And for me, that was a sentence that I just kept leading with, like Shay's doing really well. And I had nothing to do with me and nothing to say like I did so well. I had a great time. I can't wait to see what Shay does. It was a more of a, I think Shay's going to be in the limelight now, which it put me back in I was doing this to myself. I was digging myself a hole. I was putting myself in shadows. I was really just like, my confidence was gone. Like I hit this point just before I got to fly up to see Shay for the final episode. And when I got the news that she'd made the final 3, I was like, that'll sort of fizzled away. And I was like, no, this is great. Like I get to be back with Shay. Like she'll know what I'm going through, like after a couple of days. I didn't really get a chance with Shay to sort of say that I was in a shit spot. I was in a dark place. She was home. She was doing her life and she's like wigging out and stuff like that, which is part of coming back into reality. And I was there being support for her and she was support for me to a degree. But when the show came back on is when I fell straight back into that dark hole. I was like, I know I get like, a lot of people, nobody knows what happens, but I knew that I got voted out before Shay. So all these people like, you're doing so well. Like we started like going up and up, like followings and mentions in like articles and books, like things like that. And it was just like a newspaper, sorry. And I knew, so in the back of my mind, I was like, no, Shay does really well. Shay does really well. And it literally turned into like Shay-Viver in my head, like this shit little play on words there. But I pushed myself so far into this dark hole that I literally took photos of all my camera gear and everything. I was like, I'm not going to get anything out of Survivor. No one's going to notice me anymore because Shay's going to be like skyrocketing to fame or whatever it might be. So I took all photos of my camera gear. I was like, I'm going to sell my stuff. Like I'm just going to be a roofer. I'm just going to plod along because I didn't speak up. I didn't say that I needed help. And I am a advocate for like, it's not weak to speak. And mental health is something for me. Like I lost a lot of friends through this, like depression and things. And it never really hit home on how bad it can hit you until it was like in the middle of the season, Survivor, like top of my life. Like I'm on a TV show, like I'm all eyes in Australia are on me. But it was something that it was just like the words, I don't know. It's like someone's like, how are you feeling? Like how is everything? I was like, I don't know. I can honestly say I have no idea. And Shay was so busy with uni and things like that, I'm not saying I didn't get that support, but it was a 6'4" and I wasn't getting seen. And for me, not being seen is a massive thing. And like, it doesn't have to be center of attention, but it's just to have somebody sitting by your side. If you're in a shit spot, it's like, hey, Jesse, I just having a shit time. Can you just come over, just hang? Like you can edit a podcast or whatever. I'm just going to sit in it. I don't need you to fix my problems.
Yeah, you just need like that company of like someone being around.
And I didn't have that from Shay. I didn't have that. My family's down home, like down in New South Wales. And I was upset like every day. I was like crying. Every episode that pop up, and I was like, okay, this like I know how the end of this day happens, but the way it's going to be edited is going to be different. And am I going to come out like a nice guy? And that's when I started to get back into like Sydney, I guess, and like thinking what are people going to think of me and stuff. And I never forget the day that my episode was airing that I was leaving. I cried for like 6 hours straight. I was supposed to go see a friend of mine. for lunch, and I was like, man, I can't. Like, Shay was down in Sydney. I was like, shit, like, truth be told, like, I was like, she doesn't care. She's down in Sydney with her friends and stuff. She's got work on down there, but it's like, I would have called work off. Why isn't she with me? And I just didn't know. I didn't know what I was feeling. I didn't know. I was shaking. I was crying. I wasn't eating. I was depressed. And I hadn't taken a photo in like months. I hadn't even like opened my camera case. Like, I took photos of it. I went to post on like something, like someone to post on a marketplace, but nothing. It just had no drive to do anything except work on a roof, get paid at the end of a week, continue. And to this day, I still don't know why I pushed myself. So I didn't catch myself. I was pushing myself into this dark hole. And I ended up speaking to Shay about it. And I was like, hey, like, I'm not good. It's like, I'm in a dark place and I'm not being seen. And because she's up here with her parents, her family are always like, hey, Shay, like, what's going on? And asking her questions. And it was kind of like lights on her. And I'm just Beny. I'm just in the background. Like, yeah, my parents, I still call my parents every day and stuff. But I didn't get that interaction. And I wasn't getting it from Shay, nor was I getting it from my mates because I didn't speak up. The day I spoke up, I spoke to Shay. I was like, hey, like, I'm not doing good. I'm in a very dark space and don't need you to fix it. I just want to let you know. And as soon as I hung up from that phone call, I drove straight down to my best mate's house, Ed. He knew all about Survivor, everything was going on, and I just sat with him. And we just watched the episode. As soon as the episode finished and I got voted out, I was portrayed as like the nice, hungry dude, which is basically me. He said, you just look like you sat up straighter as soon as that finished. He said that my posture changed. I was like, what do you mean? He said, it just feels like you got lighter. He said, how do you feel? I said, honestly, Survivor was taking up 90% of my brain capacity. I had 10%, like 5% for gym, 5% for everyday life. It feels like it just got wiped clean. I was like, I delivered that job, did it the best of my ability. I'm moving on now. And the rest of the time I was like, shit, yeah, now I get to see what Shay's done. It was a turning point in my I guess, life at that point, just to talk to my mates about it. And I can't stress highly enough how important it is to say, hey, I'm having a shit day, or hey, I'm in a mood. I don't fucking know why. That's totally fine. Just let everybody know that you're in a mood, you've got something going on, because the burden of having people, like, not necessarily like, a burden of having people assume that you're in a shit mood because of something else. Like, I walk into the gym now and there's like 20 people in the class. I'll go straight up to the coach. I'm like, hey, I'm having a shit day. He goes, yeah, no worries. Go up, like, he's one of my best mates, Eli. He goes, go up in your corner, like, you know what to do. And I'll still say hi to everyone, but that will perk me up. And it's just, it ain't weak to speak. And so as soon as I sort of said to Shay, like, I'm not good, I was like, all right, like, telling that person that I think so highly of, I'm like, oh, she's going to think I'm just weak, or like I'm just having a bad time, or shit because I'm getting voted off. She's like, all right, cool. Like, no, like, what can we do for this? I was like, no, I don't need you to fix it. I just need you to let you know that I'm having a shit time. And to have that feedback of, all right, cool. Like, thanks for letting me know. Right, now I know. And she was checking in with me, and I was like, fuck, like, why didn't I do this like months ago? Why didn't I tell her as soon as she got home? I was like, hey, like, I was in a dark spot because I thought this, and this. No, it's not true, but I thought this and this. And she would have checked in with me, like, more than what she was, like, taking time out of a busy uni schedule to check in with me. If you just mention that one thing of like, I'm not good, it gives people that follow up. But if they want to follow it up, they're gonna, I don't know how to put this, like, it's,
even for me, like, I've dealt with some pretty severe mental health issues in the past, and yeah, like, for me, like, there's one particular instance, like, for like all of 2019, I was dealing with some like really intense stuff, which I'll touch on later on in another podcast. But the one thing I took from that was, after all that stuff happened, just saying like, hey, I'm not good, and just like actually voicing it.
Yeah.
It like creates this, it gets your brain like churning, and you're like, oh, okay, well, like, it gives you this like confidence and like this new lease on life. Because if you tell someone that you're like, oh, look, I'm not that good, or like, I'm really struggling with this, everyone's so sympathetic. They're like, oh my God, like, yeah, no, that's sweet, man. Like, and it just changes the narrative of what you're telling yourself in your head. Yeah. You're like, oh, like this person, if I tell them that I'm not good, they're going to think I'm like, there's something wrong with me. And there's like this negative narrative that for some reason just goes on in your head. And then literally as soon as you go, hey, I'm not good, the response that people get, like you light up and they're like, oh yeah, no dramas, man. Like, what do you need? Like everyone's so like, and then all of a sudden you're like, why was I thinking all that negative stuff for the last like 5 hours before we met when I should have just sent you a message and be like, hey man, I'm not good right now. And, and they're like, oh yeah, man, no worries. Like it's so bizarre.
I mean, that's what I mean, the whole ramble was I didn't want to disappoint Shay. I wanted to be her rock. I mean, one thing I learned when I was out in Survivor was Shay doesn't need me, I need her. Because like I quite literally saw her beat somebody up and I was like...
She's a weapon.
Oh, she's amazing. I mean, we don't praise her. Everybody praises an amazing woman, but she is phenomenal. She just does not stop moving and the amount of work she does is ridiculous. We can have a podcast just on Shay.
Get her on.
Get her in.
She's going to come on anyway.
Yeah.
Coming on, Shay.
But like I watched her and same thing. I just got pushed off this pontoon and then I saw Shay, like the girl that I thought, or the woman, sorry, I needed to be there for, literally do the split, slide underneath someone, like smack her over the head with the cushion thing and then like push her off the pontoon. I was like, oh, this bitch doesn't need me. Like I'm the sook here. Like I need her. And I still didn't want to let her down. I didn't want to say, like, I'm not good right now. Like, because I was waiting for her to say I'm not good. I'm like, okay, I'm there for you. But I was like, no, like fuck, it's my turn. Like Shay's fine. She's always fine, but at the same time, if she's not fine, I'm there for her. I know that. But I needed to know that she was there for me. And when I said, oh, I'm not good, as you said, it felt like this relief. And I went, oh, okay, like, I can say more. And, like, not that I word vomited everything. It was like, no, I'm not good. And now it's just a thing. It's like, people say, how are you? I'm like, yeah, all right. Actually, no, I'm not that good. Like,
you're more honest, hey. Like it's like it's I don't know. Like I'm so visual, but like the way I would like describe to someone, it's like you're sitting in this little dark hole, and there's one ladder to the top, and as soon as you open that door, there's like the light. Yeah. I know that sounds dumb and cliche, but it's so true. It's like you're in this little dark hole of like negative thoughts and all these like weird demon faces and like this real shit time, and then you go to the person, you're like, hey, I'm not good, and then all of a sudden the door just comes flying open, and you're like, oh, I should have just. Oh, okay. I didn't need to be down there anymore. Like I should have. Yeah, like it's so weird. But like unless
wigging out over an apple in Coles,
literally, like, and you're like stressing out. You're like, oh my God, like what are these people going to think of me? Like I get this stuff with the podcast. I'm like, do people think I'm just like I get the whole imposter syndrome? I'm like, do people think what I'm saying is just dumb, or like? Do people think I'm an idiot? Or like,
I just thought that was a 45-minute ramble that I just had.
Like, yeah, it goes through your head. But the reality of it is, it's like if people are investing their time and listening and following and jumping on board, it's like, well, obviously what you're doing is creating an impact for people in their lives, and it's in a positive way. So you should like back yourself. And the same thing is like if you are going through a tough time, just back yourself. Yeah. Just back yourself like you'd back yourself with a project that you really love. Just say that you're not okay, because chances are, as soon as you say it, that person, whoever you tell, is going to respond with the most, like the utmost love and attention that you need, and you'll be like kicking yourself, going, "Why the hell did I just put myself through 6 hours of torture when I should have just said, hey, I'm not okay.
I'm not good. I'm not coming to dinner."
And I wish I said it. Like back in 2019, I really wish I said this to my ex-partner when all this stuff went down. And looking back on it, I am so glad now. Like talking about it, I was like, why didn't I just? You feel stupid almost. You're like, why the fuck did I just not say, hey, I'm not okay?
I think it was like talking to Ed. He's again best mate of mine. I was like, man, like I'm just having a shit time, and Ed doesn't give follow-up questions or ask follow-up questions. If I want to talk to him, he just sits and he sits with me. Same if he's got something to say, I'll just let him speak. I won't keep prodding it. It's like a male thing. Like we don't ask follow-up questions.
No, you just ask one question. They're like, yeah, I'm not good. You're like, do you need anything? Nah, no dramas.
We're good. That's it. But if it's like, hey, like I'm not doing too well, I was like, oh, okay, sick. Like, do you need anything? No, I'm all good. But just wanted to let you know. And that's if you start that ball rolling. Like again, I'll be there for you. You're there for me. It's for me. That was like that's when I got the word vomit. And Ed, like Didn't say a thing. Hopped up, gave us a hug, and he was like, "Sick. What do you want for lunch?" And he's just like, got it off your chest. And him and I are like amazing friends. It's a funny story that how we met or re-met again. But yeah, he's my sounding board. Shay's as well, but at the same time, I choose my times with Shay.
Yeah, that's what I learned as well. Like having a partner, you need to. I only learnt this recently, by the way. This isn't something that I've known for a long time. But as you get older, you learn that you don't want to not burden, but like you don't want to unleash all your emotions on your partner, because it's not fair. Like you still need your friends, because like you need to spread the load, so to speak.
Well, that's it, yeah. And like Shay's just like having exams on exams and whatever she's doing, a study and stuff. She's, "Oh, I'm so tired." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not going to whinge to you about my day." She's like, "No, I want to hear it." I'm like, "No, you don't."
You say that and then I'll start and you're like, "Oh, I wish I never asked."
Yeah, your eyes will glaze over and you'll be asleep. So that's when I just chat to Ed, and it's just like, we just chill. And he's just like, "Oh, okay, cool." Like, not that he's not taking it in. It's just like no emotion there. He knows that I'm just talking. He's bouncing it back off me. But yeah, and I guess the one thing jumping back to Survivor, like it was a dark time, but it taught me a lot of what I want and what I need. And I need to support myself. I need to back myself. I need to pat myself on the back, because hands down in this life, no one, this is a life-changing goal here. Oh, not even a goal, life-changing advice. No one gives a fuck about you. No one in this entire world gives a complete and utter fuck about you. Yeah, your mum and your dad love you and everything in between, but they've got shit on. Yeah. Like your best friend loves you to death. Your partner absolutely adores you, do anything for you. Like you need to back yourself. You need to support yourself before you can support someone. Nobody gives a fuck about you. As brutal as shit as that sounds, it's
true though.
It's true.
And well, that is a great way to slam this podcast to a close. Now, before we jump out of here, this is my favorite part, because I get to know some new people. You get to shout out one local legend who you believe should come on the show and tell their story. And then 2 is you've kind of already done it, but you get to give advice to someone who might need a bit of a kickstart in the ass to start their creative project or whatever project it may be.
All right. Well, you said you wanted to get away from the photographers and videographers. He's a creative by heart, but Eli Butler from Integrated Athletics is the coach. He's the owner of the gym. He is an incredible story. He's just an absolute riot. You'll have an absolute ball to have him on here. He's one of my favorite humans in the whole entire world. The guy's just an abundance of laughs, an abundance of like shit to-do lists, and never gets them done unless I'm there with my tools. But he would be fantastic to have on. Person needs a kick up the arse to get stuff done would be my sister.
Oh, no, I got this wrong. Sorry.
Yeah.
You get to give advice to someone so your sister basically, who needs a kick in the ass. You don't need to shout someone out. It's more like advice that you would give, which you did give kind of at the end. I probably didn't explain that properly.
He's done this before.
He's done it. He's very professional.
Fuck. So we're starting again?
No, just give advice. Give advice to someone who you think, like, yeah, if you had to give advice to yourself back then when you didn't want to start a creative project, what would you say?
Don't overthink it. Don't overthink it and listen to your gut. That's pretty much it.
Bang on. Sweet. Well, guys, it has come to the end of the podcast. This has been another amazing episode of Creative Appetite with my good friend Beny. Oh, I'm so glad we got this story out. But to the rest of you, tell your grandma about it. Like, share, and subscribe, please. And hang around for the next one. You!